Hey there, extraordinary treasures. So how long do we have to keep all these papers we have so carefully collected, organized, and preserved? Let's go through them. Jewel monthly printouts can be discarded after each audit. Payroll time cards, keep 3 years. Check backup, invoices, statements, receipts, keep those for 6 years. Bank statements and reconciliations, 6 years. Tithe envelopes, keep them for 6 years too. Insurance policies and cash receipts, primarily for schools, 6 years. The next list is a list of records that must be kept permanently. Board minutes, church and school. Legal documents, such as your IRS EIN notice. General ledgers, which are your old church paper records. Church clerk records, employee records, and computer backups from previous software. So let's say you had an audit in November of 2020 with an ending date of October of 2020. You can immediately discard all of the Jewel printed monthly reports for every date up through October of 2020. If those have never been pulled, this would be a large stack of printed reports. If you've been printing monthly contribution reports, pull those too, and you'll just about double the size of the stack to shred. Let's say it's early 2021. All the 6-year documents up to and including the year 2014 can be discarded. Get all the records together, bring in your assistant treasurers or other trustworthy members, order a few pizzas, explain the rules, and have a sorting, shredding party. They can help you make sure you pull the board minutes and legal documents and anything else from the permanent list, pull them out of the records that you are discarding because those need to be kept. Once you're caught up, every year, you will discard 1 more year's worth of eligible documents, which won't take long and keeps the total storage needs to a manageable size as you rotate through the years. Add a new year, discard an old year. A big advantage of this filing system is that when their time is up, you can pull out individual file folders such as the monthly reports and discard the contents, knowing that nothing in it needs to be sorted or kept. Or after 6 years have passed, you can shred the entire bank statement folder without sorting through it because you know there are no board minutes or other permanent records in it. So where should these records be stored? Current year records can be kept at the treasurer's house or wherever the treasurer does their work so they're accessible when needed. Previous year records are covered in this quote from the Georgia-Cumberland Conference Policy Manual under Retention of Records. It is expected that each conference entity, including local churches, will maintain fireproof, locked storage facilities for records essential to the operation of the facility. For churches owning their own buildings, it's recommended that a fire-resistant cabinet in storage facilities be provided for the treasurer, which may be kept under lock and key and available only to the current treasurer and the pastor. I see several things here. 1. Old boxes stuffed in the attic or under the baptistry do not meet these recommendations. 2. It is to your advantage to keep your records as up-to-date as possible. Having a fire-safe room for piles and boxes of old expired records is impractical and expensive. 3. A fire-resistant file cabinet that can be locked is a really good option once your files are sorted and minimized. 4. If the system we recommend is used and if previous year's records were sorted so you knew what size you needed, a 2-drawer filing cabinet might suffice for a church of up to 40 in attendance. A medium-sized church would need a 4-drawer file cabinet, and you'd add more cabinets for larger churches. 5. New fire-resistant file cabinets are expensive and very heavy. Used ones are still heavy, but much more affordable. I see used cabinets on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace all the time at a fraction of the price for new. They would be worth the price of a refrigerator dolly rental, a trip to a neighboring city, and or getting a locksmith to rekey the cabinet. 6. I often hear, "There's no place in our church to put it." A nice-looking locked file cabinet can fit in the corner of any room. Add a plant on top of it, and it would almost not even be noticed or look out of place. And it doesn't have to be hidden in a locked closet or the attic if it has its own lock. Think outside the box. You can do this. Churches and mission groups who are renting have to be more creative. Here again from the Georgia-Cumberland Conference Policy Manual. For churches not owning their own property, the treasurer could be provided with a fire-resistant cabinet which can be kept locked at all times when not in use. Experience has taught us that it is never a good idea for previous year church records to be stored at the treasurer's house. Fire, flood, sudden disability, or death all can mean and have meant that church records are forever lost. The same would hold true for an elder's house or the pastor's house. Never a good idea. Add to that the weight of a fire-resistant safe. A 2-drawer model can weigh 250 pounds or more, and you don't want to be moving it from house to house every time the treasurer job changes hands. One option would be to place the locked fire-resistant cabinet in a small climate-controlled storage rental unit until the church has its own facility, at which point the cabinet could be moved to its final resting place. There are often other church belongings that need a home that could also be stored in the unit. Cheaper storage units can be vulnerable to mice, mold, and theft. There are other options too. The church you rent from might have a closet where you're storing supplies you use for the week, and the 2-drawer locked cabinet could be placed there. But if you move around a lot from church to church, a good 2-wheel dolly might be a wise investment. During your time as treasurer, you are steward of the church records, past and present. It might seem like a huge undertaking, but once the task is done, any future treasurers will reap the benefits of your foresight and your initiative. If your board has not seen the need for investing in a cabinet, showing them the quotes from the policy manual or playing them this video might be helpful. If your mission group or church has come up with any other creative ideas for record storage, I would love to hear them. And from us, to you, thank you for your ministry.